Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the City Council meeting to order. If you would all please stand and join me in the pledge. Right hand over your heart, ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you very much. And if we could please get a roll call, Shannon.
Councilmember Villaseñor.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Edmonds.
I am here.
Mayor McCall.
Here.
Councilmember Alex.
Here.
Councilmember Austin.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. And how about an approval of the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, so with this, we're going to move on to public comments. I do have a few speaker cards. I will just let everybody know you do have a 3-minute maximum. I'll run the timer on you. If you watch the little deal in front of you, it turns yellow when you have 30 seconds to go, and that'll be it. So our first speaker, Ana Rosa Rizzo Centino.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Ana Rosa Rizzo Centino, and I'm Executive Director of One Step a la Vez. And we were very happy when last year you all joined the rest of the cities in Ventura County to proclaim June as Pride Month. And we are asking that you do that again this year, and also support the Fillmore Pride Resource Fair, which we started last year, and we would like to make it a second annual event. And the reason why I raise this is because I already emailed your city manager, and he expressed to me that that's actually not your intention at this time. And so the coalition that is putting together this event wanted to bring this up to you all, so you reconsider that. Because as a queer woman, it's very hard to work in a community, exist in a community where you're treated as a second-class citizen. And the Pride Resource Fair and proclaiming Pride Month for June made it so that we no longer, as queer people, felt like second-class citizens. And, you know, I've heard several of you discuss mental health issues. And if you want to talk about mental health, it severely impacts the mental health of youth who are queer and don't see themselves acknowledged or represented in this community. So I wanted you all to reconsider that as a representative of this organization, One Step a la Vez. And we have slated it for June 11th. That's the day that we are planning it. So hopefully you all will hop on board as a coalition member like you did last year. And I also have a comment from Brisa Romero, who is also a queer Fillmore community member. And she says, when we celebrated our first ever Fillmore Pride last year, countless community members, both young and old, tell us how happy they were to finally have a day of celebration for the LGBTQIA plus folks in our small town. They were so happy to finally have visibility within their homes and a chance to embrace themselves. Friends and family members gathered together to educate themselves on the different resources in Ventura County that would offer them support for those around them. It was such a beautiful day. On June 8th, 2021, the City of Fillmore proclaimed June as LGBTQIA plus Pride Month, a month where we can celebrate the community's bravery to come out as themselves, build community, and promote equal rights. It was a day that I will forever remember and hold dear to my heart. As a queer woman who grew up in this community, I was so proud to say that I am from Fillmore, and here we celebrate everyone for who they are. I know I am not the only one that feels this way, so let's continue celebrating and educating those around us. Fillmore, let's proclaim June as Pride Month once again. And please also do the training that you all did last year. Our community still needs cultural competency training around LGBTQIA issues, and there are folks that want to support you in doing that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Andrea Madrigal.
Hello, City Council members. My name is Andrea Madrigal. I'm a lifelong community member from Fillmore and Piru. I currently work at our teen center here at One Step La Vez, and I'm representing the Adelante program. And I have come to invite you all as council members in the city of Fillmore to co-sponsor our second annual Pride Resource Fair. Doing so will show the acknowledgement, inclusion, and support for the LGBTQIA+ community of Fillmore. Last year was a huge success. We had community members from all parts of town participate and come out for entertainment and resources. It was a beautiful experience to take part in, and I hope that you all can support us and co-sponsor this event for all the members of our beloved community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Michael, I'm sorry, Schouten? Thank you. Sorry about that. Come on up.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Michael Schouten. I'm a program coordinator at One Step La Vez here in Fillmore. And I'm here along with everyone else behind me over here to ask the members of this council to join forces with various community agencies in One Step La Vez and other nonprofits to co-sponsor this year's Fillmore Pride Resource Fair. Actually, in 2021, then Fillmore City Council Mayor Mark Austin signed a proclamation recognizing June as LGBTQIA Pride Month in the city of Fillmore. This proclamation, if you haven't read it, highlights the many injustices that LGBTQI community members face and continue to face on their daily walks throughout life. The Fillmore Pride Resource Fair will connect our community's most vulnerable population to the vital resources in which they need to be successful, to be seen, to feel heard, and to be happy. Please bring co-sponsoring the 2022 Fillmore Pride Resource Fair up as an agenda item for discussion and consideration at your next scheduled meeting. Let's not walk back our commitment to include all community members in future planning. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move on to Mr. Stephen Hintz. If you want to come on up, please.
I am Stephen Hintz, Ventura County's Treasurer Tax Collector. I have with me this evening my assistant, Sue Horgan, who knows everything and is here, of course, to drag me away from the podium if I start telling you the wrong information. However, I have actually given some thought to the things that I need to say to you today, and so I respectfully request, Madam Mayor, that I have more than 3 minutes to do so. I think 10 should do it.
Well, if I give you 10, I have to give everybody 10, so
I'll talk as fast as I can,
Yep.
at the risk of myself losing track of where I am. I'm here to discuss an item that's going to be discussed by you all in closed session. I can't go to the closed session because if I did, it wouldn't be a closed session, and then you would not be able to have the kinds of discussions that you need to have. I'm here to talk about the Marinelli property, which is a large, undeveloped piece of property just this side of the bridges in Fillmore that has been undeveloped for many years. It came to its present owner, the Marinelli people, in 2013 in a private foreclosure sale. Marinelli never paid a nickel on the property taxes, nor did he pay anything ever on the liens for payment of the community facilities district that is set up for that area by the city council in 2006. So there's a very large amount of money that's owed on the property. It has been on my sale list since July 2016. It has never received a bid. And the main reason for that is, of course, that there were about $2 million altogether in property taxes levied by the county, and close to 2 million in levies on the special district, including penalties by both of us that have accrued over the years. And so, despite the fact that I think it's a very desirable piece of property and could be turned into a tax-paying nugget,
You have 30 seconds. I'm so sorry.
it has not been bid on. So 2 years ago, I got authority from the County Board of Supervisors, which is within their power, to reduce the price of the property so that no penalties would be collected. And we agreed to forego the county's property taxes completely, so that the only thing that we were listing the property for is the basic levies based on the liens from the facilities district.
Time's up. I'm so sorry.
We're here to ask you not to screw up this sale by deciding to sue the prospective purchaser for the penalties and fees that I waived. And the truth be known, you have to sue not only the prospective buyer if he goes through with the deal, you have to sue me, who waived the penalties to get this. And the outcome of it all will be that this goes back on the sale list for years with no bids.
Thank you, Mr.
I'm retiring.
Harris.
It makes me no never mind. But the city will never gain any tax money out of this property unless we're able to sell it and get a taxpayer in possession of the property. I'm here for questions. I'm always available for questions. You've spoken with Mr. Jones in my office, who handles these things, but I want to tell you that Mrs. Horgan and I are the ones who will make the final decisions for everything. But we're right down to it in terms of this guy's offer.
Great.
So, thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Okay, Teresa Robledo.
Good evening. I'm starting over.
Feels like morning.
Good evening, Mayor McCall and council members and staff. It is with great pleasure that I'm inviting the community out Friday night from 5 to 7 at Diamond Realty, 460 Santa Clara Street, because we are relocating, but it's not really about us relocating. We would like to introduce the new owners of the building to the community, and they could talk about what they're going to be doing and what kind of store they're putting in. They're locating here from the LA area. So we just thought we'd give them a warm Fillmore welcome. So please join us, the community, from 5 to 7 this Friday, and we'll have refreshments there.
Is that at your office?
That is,
Very good.
And just for the record, Diamond Realty has relocated and will be occupying 316 Main Street, which is the old Bank of Levy building.
Okay. Exciting.
Thank you.
Okay, that is all the speaker cards that I have. So we will move on if I don't have anybody else. So we're going to go on to, we're going to move on to item 6, which is the consent calendar.
I move to approve the consent calendar.
I second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Yes, you guys are welcome to leave if you'd like. Okay. I'm sure this will be riveting for you.
It's still a public meeting, right?
Absolutely. You're welcome to stay, but I'm just letting you know if you'd like to go, you're welcome to do that. But Lynn asked me to tell you that, so that way I'm not in trouble. So So with that, we're going to move on to new business and item 7A. This is a public hearing. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to open the public hearing and turn it over to staff so that staff's comments are part of the public record.
I need to recuse myself from this item due to being in the high fire hazard zone, living in there.
Okay? Okay, great. We'll call you guys back in once we're wrapped up. Yes, Lynn and Mark. Yes. Yes, Mark and Lynn.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. This item is the first reading of the zoning ordinance amendment 2201. It's ordinance 22937, prohibiting the development of accessory dwelling units and junior accessory dwelling units in the very high fire hazard severity zone. So this amends zoning ordinance section 6.04, 2R. The state of California, CAL FIRE, is responsible for mapping what they determine to be moderate, high, and very high fire hazard severity zones. The local jurisdictions are responsible for administering fire protection within the very high fire hazard severity zone. That mapping effort has produced this map that you see on the screen. This map is about 10 years old, but this is the current map that we administer for this very high fire hazard severity zone. CAL FIRE is in the process of updating this map, and the new map would be based on current scientific data on fire studies, and would be due out the first quarter of next year, 2023. At this point, this is what our fire department administers in this zone. So again, no accessory dwelling units or junior accessory dwelling units will be permitted in this area that's shown in red. You're not adopting this zone per se. Our ordinance simply says that we will administer the CAL FIRE published maps from time to time as they may be amended in the future. This is determined to be exempt from CEQA. Nothing in this action would cause any environmental consequences. Staff's recommendation is that City Council approve this first reading to introduce the ordinance, Amendment 2201, prohibiting accessory dwelling units and junior accessory dwelling units in the very high fire hazard severity zone, and a finding of exemption from CEQA. I'm here with any questions.
Any questions for staff?
I do, yes. Thank you, Brian. If you can go back to the map, let me see if you can answer. So for the areas that are, I'm sort of looking at central and to the west side, I think that's below the, basically, can you tell me a little bit about why a certain part of these neighborhoods are? I mean, beyond the fire severity, is it that it's near orchards that are right above, sort of in those blank red spots? Is that the reasoning?
It's the wildland urban interface area.
Okay.
So this is deemed as potentially fire prone based on patterns of fires historically. As the fires have moved through these mountains, the science has developed these maps, and there's a whole bunch of different factors that go into it: wind, dryness, topography. You know, that little portion that sticks up kind of more into the Sespe Creek watershed.
Yeah, understand.
You can see that's not shown, and I imagine that's because of the watershed, obviously, and fires haven't been moving down the topography and then across.
Okay.
Historically. But again, they're updating these maps, and there were some different factors involved that we saw with the Thomas fire and some of those other recent fires. So we'll see what comes out of that. But it's a very complicated model that goes into these. And I don't know what's specifically on the ground out here, if it's the orchards or homes, because you do have large lots in other areas that aren't in this zone too. So it's a complicated formula, and I can try to get more information on that for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I just was wondering, it just seemed like it was a little, a couple of these units look definitely like they're on the, the foothill area, but they were a little inland, so I was sort of wondering
Yeah, and I think if we had the broader picture of how this fire hazard zone kind of lays out over the whole terrain here,
Right.
then maybe that pattern will kind of fill in a bit.
Okay.
So again, it's kind of how the fire would capture that foothill there.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then a follow-up question. This is very high fire hazard severity zone, and
Yeah.
granted, the reason being, again, high fire hazard, crews getting in, density, right?
Yes,
Density
right.
there. Could you see something similar happening around other emergencies, sort of like flood zones? Just thinking of other parts of the city,
Sure.
is there potential for something to say, well, that might be down in the Riverwalk or Bridges area, that's definitely a flood zone.
Yes.
Could something like this come before us in that respect?
Sure. When it comes to the flooding, we rely on FEMA, the FEMA mapping, and then those zones are designated similarly to this. And so those risks are known, and folks will buy flood insurance for those particular areas. When it comes to accessory dwelling units, I mean, that's a possibility. This was more fire related, but obviously we could broach that subject to see if there's an issue with, evacuation or anything where you're increasing density in those flood areas, if that has an effect on how we would treat the floodways.
If I could add, the ADU ordinance right now allows an exemption in the very high fire areas. There isn't one for like flood zones and other things yet. So
Right.
that's why we felt like we had the authority to do this, and that HCD is not going to get mad at us. Although they might. It's always a possibility.
Okay.
We have to, anytime we amend our ADU ordinance, we have to send it to HCD, so we'll be hearing from them.
Yeah.
But we can definitely ask if that's something that we could look into.
Yeah, I just wanted to know sort of overall, is this
Yeah.
sort of only the tip of the iceberg
Which
for
hazard,
around
yeah.
this area, or are we looking at other parts of town too that you might be considering? So, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Brian, one of the questions Lynn actually had and brought to my attention, and you wouldn't necessarily see this unless you drill down real close on the little map that we have in our packet here. There's a couple areas where there's two adjoining parcels, and there's a little parcel right in the center of it that's not part of that, but everything all around it is. There's a couple areas where that is. She's concerned that the guy in the middle might get the ADU, but the three on the other side of him wouldn't, and they would be upset. So obviously, you said that they're redrawing these maps come first quarter of next year.
Yes.
So
Let them, they're published.
is that things that we could possibly bring up? Hey, by the way, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
I mean, because it really doesn't. There's at least two places on here that, it's literally three pieces around it are part of it, and everybody on the street except this one tiny little parcel right here. And then there's a section, it's probably based on how I see it, it's sort of at the far edge of town. It's like possibly Old Telegraph, sort of by the end of Old Telegraph, I'm not sure. That's empty, and then on either side of it, it's red. So that was something she wanted me to ask about.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the factors were in drawing those boundaries.
Okay.
But I imagine there will be a public comment period when those
Okay.
maps are produced.
Okay.
Perhaps we can ask those kinds of questions
Okay.
and determine how that's happened.
Okay.
I think
So-
that big area at the top, that's in the county. I believe that's maybe a county island.
Yeah, I believe it is.
Yeah.
And I live up here. I watched
Yeah.
the Thomas Fire.
Yes.
And I'm all for this.
Okay.
That was very, very frightening.
Yes.
I mean, and, you see how far down, this is flat, so you don't have the perspective of, this is going up a hill. I mean, the fire is burning straight down into people's yards, and it makes perfect sense. I mean, the last thing we want is ADUs and more people in jeopardy of getting hurt. After watching the Thomas Fire at my bedroom window, I totally see this. It makes a lot of sense. So maybe what we can do is just keep an eye on those maps when they come out. We can just have a look and make sure that it makes sense and we have the answers, because residents may come to us and say, hey, I can't do it, but you can. You're right next door to me, and the guy next to him can't. We just want to make sure that we have the right answers.
Sure.
Yeah, Mayor, real quick, talked with the chief today. He mentioned on some of those, he wouldn't know for sure, but it could be the style of house.
Okay.
It's stucco as a wood. What kind of roof they have.
Okay.
So those are two things that he did mention.
That makes sense.
And also that when the maps come out, we can adopt the map as is, or we can expand it or shorten it.
Okay.
But we do have to have a map. So
Okay, perfect.
just
So
letting you know.
once those are available, we can have another look at this. Okay, any other questions for staff?
When will that map be available? Third quarter of this year?
Yeah, I've heard first quarter of next year.
First quarter
So
of-
hopefully maybe January of 2023.
Okay.
We could get a first glance at it.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so if there's no other questions, I'm going to close the public hearing and open it up for council discussion.
Well,
Or a motion, or...
Yeah. I think we just sort of had our discussion, and again, these are maps and recommendations from CAL FIRE. So I would make that recommendation to approve the first reading of the zoning ordinance.
We need to read the title.
And the title being Zoning Ordinance Amendment 22-01.
Need to read the whole thing.
Okay, thank you. 22-01 to prohibit accessory dwelling units and junior accessory dwelling units in the very high fire hazard severity zone and finding of exemption from CEQA.
Tiffany, you want me to read it? Okay. So this is ordinance number 22-937, zoning ordinance amendment 22-01, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Fillmore, California, amending section 6.04.0415R of the Fillmore Municipal Code to prohibit accessory dwelling units and junior accessory dwelling units in very high fire hazard severity zones and finding an exemption from CEQA. And I just made that motion, so.
I'll second that motion.
Very good. Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. All right, Dave will get the others. Now you got it. You're going to be a pro at this next time. Next time. All you.
That took a long time.
Okay, so we're going to move on to item 7B, and this is an authorization to purchase one Public Works and Facilities Department maintenance vehicle, and I'll turn that over to staff.
Thank you, Mayor. In this year's budget, City Council authorized the purchase of one new pickup truck for the Public Works Department. City staff went out and received 3 bids, with the lowest bid coming in from Budden Chevrolet here in Fillmore. It's a 2022 1500 Silverado LTD for a price of $30,893. Staff is recommending City Council authorize the city manager to negotiate and purchase the new truck with a Bunnin for a price not to exceed $49,800. That was the budget amount. There are sufficient funds in the current account to take that on. And that's all.
Okay, questions, Lynn?
In the past, we approved a new truck and 2 additional staff, and now another new truck, and that's exciting. I'm pleased if we choose to do that. But I want to be sure that along with that comes an increased awareness of trash cans and parks, and that the supervision will be there so that we know that the people that are out there that get these new trucks and the new positions are fully aware of their positions and then can move ahead. Thank you. I guess that wasn't a question.
Statement? That's okay.
No.
I think the last truck we bought was for
It was-
planning. It was a planning truck, not a
Code
Public Works.
enforcement,
Right, it was
wasn't it?
code enforcement. It was code enforcement. Other questions? Comments?
Just a comment that I'm glad that of the 3 bids that Bunham came in, and that we are, like we said earlier, I think for the last truck, keeping it local in our economy.
It's important.
Okay.
No.
I move to authorize the purchase of the new truck for the Public Works.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to move on to item number 7C. This is a 3-year lease with Mendocino Railway for the ticket booth building, and I will turn that over to staff.
I'll be presenting this item tonight, Mayor. The county, VCTC, the Ventura County Transportation Commission, has entered into a new 35-year lease with a company known as Sierra Northern Railway to operate the railway. a sister business of Sierra Northern Railway is Mendocino Railway. It's a subsidiary that handles the tourist / guest facing / passenger arm of their business. They currently have a 6-month lease with the city to use a building that's called the ticket booth building because it's been historically used for the ticket booth for the film, for the railroad people. At this time, there's a new lease before you for 3 years to allow them to continue using the lease that building. The rent is $500 a month. It will go up $25 a month each year that it's in place. There's a 1-year extension after the first 3 years at their option, and then another year at the city's option if they remain in good standing under the terms of the lease. We do have one proposed revision before you today to section 3.4, the section about late charge, because they have been late on paying the rent. They paid the initial month's rent and then didn't pay the other rent until we received the check yesterday. We did also hear from them yesterday, finally, that they own all their other properties, and so they're not used to paying rent, and that's why they think they lost track of it, and we're not used to having tenants, so we hadn't been invoicing them. So we understand that on both sides we'll be tracking that better, and hopefully this interest provision that we're proposing to add to 3.4 never comes to pass because they pay regularly going forward. And they said they would be sending the check this week for April. So it looks like they'll be a better tenant moving forward. So before you tonight is this lease. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Quick question, if the term extends by option, either first or second, the rent increases accordingly? We have that written into it?
Yes.
Okay.
Every year it'll go up
Okay.
on the anniversary, $25
including
a
the
month.
options. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Any other questions?
In the past, we have also asked for a portion of the ticket fees. Are they also going to do that?
No, in the past we were getting $125 a month plus
Right.
a portion of ticket fees,
Right.
which the numbers that they paid on were substantially lower than what they always reported in the press.
I know.
So it was very unreliable, and that's why when they approached us for this new lease, we went with a number that the council had discussed before that we were hoping to get from the prior operator that he never would agree to.
Okay.
So we thought a flat fee was easier for everyone, and then you don't have to worry about.
And
the
then I
numbers.
noticed that it said that they're interested in building something. Will that come back to us at another time when that has been approved by planning, or they want to build?
So I don't think it would be on this property. So this is just, we own a big piece of property right there, and this building and the restrooms are just part of that property. There are 2 other properties that we own that has been used by Mr. Wilkinson and Fillmore and Western Railroad that will be assigned to them, and those agreements will be coming back to you in a couple of months. And though it's on one of those properties that they are potentially going to build something.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I think it's important to note too, this seems so low. My gosh, it's a whole building. Why would you rent it for so little? The intent is to get them here and keep them here. We don't want them to go to Santa Paula. I mean, they could put their railway station anywhere. We want people here.
Mm-hmm.
We want their customers to come here. We want, to be accommodating, and we want the business here in town. So,
And they've talked about maybe moving their rail bike center on this property or one of the other properties, and so it's definitely an economic development tool, and it is a tiny building.
right. It is a tiny building, but
Yes,
it's important that we keep that keep those people coming here. So, any other questions? Okay. Comments, recommendations, motions?
Go ahead.
I will make the motion to approve the 2022 lease agreement to rent the ticket booth building to the Mendocino Railway as recommended.
I second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those.
Yes, and I would like to include it in that motion, make the change 3.4 for the late charge.
And I second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. We're going to move on to item number 8, committee, commission, and board reports.
Okay, I'll start off with that. Let's see here. My update from the Fillmore Pirate Basin Groundwater Sustainability Agency. Annual reports have been sent from both the Fillmore and Pirate Basin to the Department of Water Resources. This is our annual report we send every April. Also, the Groundwater Sustainability Agency is considering forming a platform to a legislative platform to be nimble to support or oppose legislation that would directly impact groundwater quality, sustainability, and also to be nimble to submit a letter of intent for funding opportunities that are within our sphere. So, I'll give you further update on that. And just to let you know, a couple of projects that the GSA is working on, supporting the Cienega Springs Restoration Project as a drought refuge. This is the area that's right east of the fish hatchery. And also looking at constructing shallow monitoring wells in that same area of Cienega Springs and possibly in other areas around the basin as well. One of the things that we found out when we did the whole submitting the groundwater sustainability plan to the state is that we're still lacking in some water data and groundwater data. So we may need to have more information there. Update.
Okay, Lynn?
The Air Pollution Control Board executive director is retiring, and so they are, if any of you are interested in that position, get that out there right away. The Ventura County Sanitation District has gone through many years that Mark was on that board of shrinkage, of losing money, of having to lay off staff, and it is coming back. It's coming back with a robust health. And so I happen to step in at the right time, and they now have more people that are attending. This is the one that runs the Tolan landfill, and also other landfills that have been closed and are now, there's one in Oxnard that's a golf course now. Several people asked me, are they ever going to not be able to see it? If you drive on the highway, you can see Tolan sticking up there. And yes, they will be planting trees up there, and that high section of dirt will be then lowered down to cover the valley where the trash is. And so it will be a pretty area. And they are redoing Tolan Park, which is right there, and it's looking very nice. So when it is opened, it'll be fun. And so it's a good committee, and it is healthy, the sanitation district is, which is exciting. So that's it.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. We're going to move on to City Council reports, recommendations, and comments.
Oh, I would like to suggest that we have it on the agenda to join the LGBTQ crew in recognition of the LGBTQ plus day and month on June 11th. So I'd like to bring that as an agenda item. I just need 2 other people to agree with me.
I fully support that recommendation. It was an excellent event last year, just as our speaker spoke. I think it's an important thing for our whole community, including the city, to be a part of. So I would love to see that happen.
I need one more vote. Anybody else say yes? No?
Okay.
Well, I am very glad that we had our speakers today, and I encourage them to continue and to work with our community organizations, and let this be a whole community event to be proud of. So thank you. Thank you for coming.
Are we going to have a proclamation for LGBT?
We haven't got that far yet.
Okay.
I mean, they've been made aware they can use the front of City Hall. That's not being taken away. It's
Okay,
open to anybody.
Okay.
So that is not. Okay. Anybody else?
Well, they have to pay for it, was the question.
I believe any organization can apply once a year to get a waiver for fees. So you can reach out to city staff for that. They'd be able to answer that question, but that's my understanding.
I do have a couple of other comments to add on other issues. During our consent calendar today, we voted to accept funds for the citizens option for public safety funds. And this is working with the student resource officer. it's a sort of the city's a pass-through, there's grant funding. Through us, we put $100,000, and the district $100,000 to fund one of the SROs. I just want to make a comment that this example of partnering together for the safety and the well-being of our local youth, it's been long and established. It's a great working relationship. But I would like for us as a council and to work with the district, with the board, maybe in our next 2+2 meeting, to use this example to look further and look at mental health and look at seeing if we can do something in the realm of grant money coming in. And if there is something that the city or even the county through our behavioral health department partner with the school district and look at building off of that, particularly for mental health resources for our students. I think our speaker spoke really passionately about our youth and the need for mental health needs, and we're going to be doing mental health things in May around this issue. So I think that would be really great. Let's see. Also, I just want to let everyone know that the governor allocated a big sum, $4.4 billion in one-time funds to create a statewide children and youth behavioral health initiative. It's funds that's going to be coming down the board, but those are sort of the opportunities where there may be, availability to work again with our local school district, with community organizations, the county, and be a partner, be at the table and support mental health in our community, support youth mental health. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, we're going to move on to the city manager's report.
I have nothing this evening, thank you.
Okay. All right, so with that, I'm going to move us into closed session. Let's see, I have a couple items here. We have a conference with the real property negotiator. The city council will conduct a closed session regarding negotiations and to give direction regarding 575 First Street in Fillmore. And we have another item, which is conference with real property negotiator. The city council will conduct closed session to consider negotiations and give directions regarding 308 Chambersburg Road in Fillmore. And we have a third item. This is a conference with legal counsel regarding anticipated litigation in there's significant exposure to litigation in one case. So I'm going to recess us now, and we'll come back and report out when we're completed. Okay, council is back from closed session. There's no reportable action this evening. So with that, I'm going to adjourn our meeting to the next regular meeting, April 12th, 2022, 6:30 right here in City Hall. Thank you. Good night.